Hi, my name is Stefanie Martel, and I am the author of the Teaching Idioms in Context deck by Bjorem Speech Publications. Today, I'm going to be talking all about who this product is for, the research behind the development of this product, and I'm going to give you an overview of exactly how to implement this intervention step by step. So before we take a look at the deck together, I wanted to talk about the article and research that was influential in the development of this intervention. It is called Feeling Thrown for a Loop, The Effects of Inferencing on Spoken Language, Idiom Comprehension, and Autism. You can find it in ASHA's LSHSS journal. It is by myself and Dr. Mashi Damazi. In this article, it mainly focuses on the connection between inferential language skills and spoken language idiom comprehension. It gives an overview that talks about the differences in how autistic children and children with language disorders and neurotypical children process and understand idioms. It also goes over some of the contributing factors that may cause differences in understanding idioms in these populations. So I would suggest that you take a look at this first and go through it. You will see that a lot of these components are included in this intervention, which I'll talk about in the next few minutes. So let's take a look at what's inside. So inside you will find the instruction booklet. This is the first thing that you will take out when you're looking at the deck. It starts off by talking about the purpose behind this deck, and then in my work using this approach with autistic children and children with language disorders ages 10 to 14 years old. It could also be used with children who are older or younger depending on their needs. It can be used with kids in small group sessions, one-to-one sessions, or whole class lessons. This page includes the 24 idioms that are included in the intervention. Now I'm going to go step by step, so it'll show you exactly what you have to do when you get this deck. So the first thing that you need to do is scan this QR code, which will take you to the pre-test and post-test. You are going to read the directions up top. You're going to read each passage and the multiple choice questions, and students will select their best guess. Make sure you read it because I don't want decoding to be something that is making it difficult for them to understand the idioms. I really want it to be a listening task where they're then answering the question without having to worry about reading. Then you're going to score the pretest, and based on how they do on the pretest, you have three options. So number one, you could choose 8 idioms and target them over a 4-week period, which would be 2 idioms per week. You can choose an 8-week period and target 1 idiom per week. Or you can choose to do an idiom of the week format and target 1 idiom per week based on your student's needs. So step number 2, you're going to introduce the what is an idiom visual. It's going to give you the definition of an idiom, and it's going to give you the example idiom for under the weather. The purpose of this visual is to review and highlight the difference between the literal image or definition of an idiom and the figurative definition of an idiom. So each session, this is going to be on your therapy table. You are going to ask your students, does it actually mean that somebody is standing under rain, snow, and the sun, or does it mean that somebody is sick? Step number 3 is where you're going to teach the 5-step approach that students can use and apply when they're encountering idioms. It draws attention to the semantic contrast between the literal and figurative meanings of idioms, and it allows students to activate their background knowledge and also use textual support so that they can understand what the idiom means. Each time you use this strategy, you're going to use a closed procedure. So for example, I stands for identify the idiom. D stands for draw a picture. I stands for investigate the clues. O stands for organize the details. M stands for make a guess. Steps 4, 5, and 6 include the visual and cards that are used as part of this deck. So we have the large story card, which includes the passage with the idiom used at the end of the story. On the back, it has the comprehension check, the knowledge usage, and the try it out portion. And then we also have our small idiom cards, which depict the idiom literally and then also figuratively. So now that we have all of our materials, let's put it all together for a sample session. So we are going to have our idiom a show of hands. You're going to start the session by going over what is an idiom, and you're going to have your strategy. After you read the story to your students, you're going to start with I stands for identify the idiom. What is it? They are going to tell you a show of hands. You are going to use our emotion cards to describe how it makes them feel. Does a show of hands sound like it makes you feel sad, neutral, or happy? They're going to pick their emotion card. And then next, they are going to tell how often they have heard the idiom. Have they heard it never, or have they heard it many times? So they could pick from 1 to 5 from there. Also included is an answer key, so that you know what the answers are for the idioms. So now let's start with the strategy. After we have identified our idiom, we're going to go on to drawing our picture. What does the idiom sound like it means? So this is where students are going to use the words that make up the expression for them to tell you what it literally sounds like it would mean. You're going to have your students draw their own pictures. You can use a whiteboard, crayons, whatever media method you prefer. And you're going to encourage the students to talk about their drawings after they have completed them. And if your students need help, you have your visuals to support which one is the literal and the figurative image. After they have theirs drawn, you're going to take your literal image and you're going to put it right on your story card. The next step is I for investigate the clues. So here you're going to find all the details within the story. You might go over a vocabulary that they don't know the meaning of. You're going to check for comprehension of the story elements and details, talk about their background knowledge with the topic, and then put all this together to support their figurative meaning. Students are going to be drawing their pictures and going on to the next step, which is organize the details. I found that my students needed a second run around just to remember all the details within the story. So once you go over all the details once more, students are going to draw their pictures based on the context in the story, understanding all of the vocabulary and the story grammar. You're going to then draw your figurative drawing, and you're going to put that on this side of the card. After students have completed that, you're going to make your guess, what does the idiom mean, and then they're going to provide you with the definition. After you have completed that, you're going to do the knowledge check, the comprehension check. You're going to do, which is a multiple choice question. They're going to answer the question there. You're going to choose the true statement. So they're going to pick which one is correct. They are going to answer the yes or no question. And then they are going to try it out, which is where they're going to try to use the idiom in their own example. And then after you have gone through the complete idiom intervention, you're going to go back to your insert and scan that QR code. You're going to give the same test that you gave at the beginning of the intervention, and you're going to see how many idioms your student has acquired. So just to recap, we have 24 idiom large cards. Also included, there's really 25 because we have a blank one where you can choose an idiom that you heard from a book or maybe a movie and practice using it in the context and drawing your pictures and creating your own questions. This is also really good because idioms have a cultural component. So you could choose an idiom from the student's specific culture and you could practice using context. We have our idiom illustration cards. So this is for on fire. We have sleep on it. There are 48 of them. What's really cool about this is that the backs of the cards are numbered, so they match the idiom list number here. And it's also really easy to find the matching story card, so that makes it really convenient for you when you're choosing which idioms you're going to be working on. Lastly, we have one of our what is an idiom visual. We have 2 strategy cards, our emotional valence cards, there's 3 of them. One of our familiarity rating scales, your answer key, and one of my favorite parts in the insert booklet, you have some extension games. There's 3 of them that you could use to practice idioms in different ways. We can't teach our students every single idiom in existence, kind of like how we can't teach every vocabulary word that they might encounter. But what we can do is teach them a strategy, and that strategy is to teach them how to process context so that they can become more independent in understanding what idioms mean.